I'm Vick, and I'd like to thank the Mukwonago Community Library for giving me this opportunity to share with you the first chapter of my book, A Phantom Walks Among Us. It's a murder whodunit set in my hometown, Mukwonago. Of course, it's a work of fiction. Here's chapter 1. The Phantom watched the solitary jogger from a shadowy, hidden spot behind towering pin oaks that had begun their own journeys more than a century earlier. Tonight, the nearly full moon hung above the lake like a misshapen orange. It was true that moonlight represented a complication, but complications, the Phantom observed, only doomed the inept, the lazy, and the stupid. The Phantom was none of these. Everything had been carefully planned. Almost everyone in Mukwonago knew the jogger, Sandy Sewell. However, the Phantom had made it an obsession to know more about the young woman than virtually anyone except Sandy herself. Sandy had grown up in the village of about 6,000, waitressing at a popular local restaurant where her smile and comfortable chatter had charmed young and old, making everyone feel that she really was interested in how they were feeling or where they had gone on their recent vacation or in the photos of grandchildren they readily shared from their phones or wallets. Her winning demeanor had earned her generous tips and paid for most of her college. Degree in hand, she had returned to her hometown, certified as a realtor, and 7 years later, at the age of 29, was selling as many properties in a year as the grizzled realty veterans. As of late, she was known to be dating a physical education teacher from the high school, a fellow who, according to local gossip, was decent, church-going, and well respected by his colleagues. The idea that these two might end up together generated a lot of smiles among locals. And that was the sad part, of course. A beautiful young woman, someone who should marry, have children, laugh a lot, live a long life filled with friends, travel, and dreams fulfilled. But the Phantom knew that was not how it was destined to play out. While the Phantom knew Sandy's personal and work history, there were other useful details of which fewer were probably aware. For instance, the Phantom had learned through weeks of clandestine watchfulness that Sandy jogged 7 days a week, rain or shine. Her schedule was rigid, perhaps a bit obsessive. That's how it often was with Type A individuals, the Phantom had noted. Obsessive dedication to a routine made one predictable. One might have called it a fatal flaw. On Saturdays and Sundays, Sandy ran at 7 a.m. and always the 5-mile loop that started at Field Park, followed the sidewalks along Veterans Way to what locals referred to as the bypass, continued on Bayview, and then weaved through town back to the park. On weekdays, however, she ran in the evening, conducting showings or finishing up office work until 7 or 8 p.m., and then changing into her running gear at her house near Minnewacan Park. She had a set routine for every weekday night, although she always began with a warm-up jog to Field Park, where she paused for a rigorous 10-minute stretching routine. After that, on Mondays, she ran the bike path west along Veterans Way, past the high school, wove her way through that subdivision, the one with all the famous golf course street names, took Eagle Lake Avenue east to Rochester, and then back to the park. Always the same, every Monday. Tuesdays, it was the Mukwonago Heights subdivision, where the streets were dedicated to NASA astronauts, with names like Lovell Court and Armstrong Court. Tonight was Thursday, and on Thursdays, without fail, Sandy ran down Andrews Street to the little park on the edge of Phantom Lake, Phantom Glen Park, where both Sandy and the Phantom rested now, though only one of them was aware of this. The Phantom had watched her run this route on a dozen Thursdays. Always at the end of Andrews Street, Sandy would swing left into the park, run beneath the oak canopies bordering the paved lots, then cross the grass to the fishing pier that jutted south into the lake. There she would pause her workout to admire the view, sometimes tarrying a minute or two if the skies were particularly star-filled and spectacular. They were particularly star-filled and spectacular tonight. The Phantom watched. Had this been Detroit or New York or most other big cities, the Phantom guessed that Sandy would have been less enthusiastic about lingering in the darkness. And it was dark indeed. While the lights of homes along the far shore of Phantom Lake reflected off its waters, there were no security lights at the pier, no electronic cameras. But this was not Detroit or New York. It was Mukwonago. Nothing to worry about here. And this was true, thought the Phantom. Tonight was not the night to worry. Tonight was an evening of diamond-studded skies and distant barking dogs, of the soft overhead rush of a jet engine dying to silence, carrying with it weary passengers to sunny tomorrows in distant places, of gentle June breezes, only occasionally flexing enough muscle to rustle a few leaves. In short, a beautiful night, where worries were as far away as the 3 solar furnaces that had birthed the radiance that defined Orion's belt. Yet the Phantom knew that there would come a night when there was truly something to worry about. A night when the mortal fears of village residents would not be 1,000 light years away, but would be as close as their next step, their next breath, their next whispered question into the darkness. And that night would come very soon. I hope you enjoyed the first chapter of A Phantom Walks Among Us. If you did, I believe the library has a copy available, and you can also get it on Amazon.com. Thanks again. I'm Vick, the author.